Hey y'all, welcome back to Pennies Not Perfection. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 2 things that I'm doing right now to up-level ourselves financially and get us closer to buying a house in the next year. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and now I'm starting to do some of the practical work to actually get us to that point. And if you've been here for a long time, you know that I love to write out my budget with pen and paper, but I am now switching to a new budgeting method, and that is budgeting with a spreadsheet. So I recently created a Google Sheets budget that is kind of based off of my style of budgeting with paper, and I did this because I really want to buckle down and start budgeting and saving more money as we are looking to buy our next home. And my husband is a huge spreadsheet guy. And for years now, I've resisted using spreadsheets because it's not fun for me and it's not my natural choice when I am thinking about how to write out a budget, how to track my spending. But my husband loves spreadsheets. It's literally what he does all day at his job. He's good at it. He's an expert. He's like an Excel genius. So we did compromise and we are using Google Sheets because we can both easily access that. I literally don't have Excel on my computer, but I can use Google Sheets and I'm familiar with it. So I'm really excited about this because we have always been a couple where I do the budgeting and we of course talk about what we are planning with our money, and we talk about big expenses and we talk about where we want to be and where we want to go in our like larger stuff. But we don't always do the day-to-day together, and that is because I just budget very differently than he does, and I've always been the one that is hesitant and resistant to using a spreadsheet, which is his style. And I'm deciding now, because we have this big goal and I really want us to like buckle down and put as much money as possible toward it, that I am the one who is going to adjust and try out something different. And it is different for me, but I'm very, very excited about it. I did create a couple different templates and I've gone through a couple iterations and I'm finally really, really happy with what we have. And it works well for like what we're going to be working on. So I'm super excited about it. So that's exciting. And I have always said here on this channel that budgeting is a really great way to jumpstart any sort of financial goal. It's a really great wake up call when you are first starting, especially to write out all of your expenses and to actually track them by hand or by spreadsheet for a while. You can always switch to using an app like Monarch later, but that first couple months when you're forcing yourself to actually put it down on paper or to add it to a spreadsheet by hand is very enlightening. And honestly, most of us don't even realize how much is going out of our accounts as long as we're not going negative. There's a lot of expenses that we're just not fully consciously thinking about. They are kind of happening in the background, or they are something we do out of habit. And stopping yourself and forcing yourself to do it manually for a couple months, you don't have to do it forever, but doing it manually for a couple months is so helpful. And we've been doing a kind of passive budgeting for a while now. And I think that changing it up and forcing ourselves to really look at each expense and manually enter it will be so, so helpful. And just forcing ourselves to be aware of what we're actually spending is going to change the game. I know it is. I know that us doing this together and us doing it manually and forcing ourselves to look at what we're actually spending these days is going to be very, very helpful. So that's the first thing that we're doing to get us closer to kind of the ideal situation that we're going to be in. And then the second one is way opposite in the other direction, because that was very practical. And that was something where we kind of came together and decided very practically, we're going to do this step by step. We're going to create this together. We're going to enter this together. We're going to do this. We're going to make ourselves save money here because we're doing this. And the next one's very different. It is very woo-woo, and it is me, myself, and I manifesting both an income increase and the next house we're going to buy. So right now in the area we want to buy a house, there's really nothing there. We've looked at all the ones that are out there. There's nothing on the market. And that means we have some time until something comes along that we absolutely see ourselves in and love. So we have some time here. We have a couple months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. I'm not really sure. But that means we have time for me to change my mindset about the money that I'm earning and the life that I'm living and kind of what that looks like. And I've just kind of recently started this, so I'm not an expert by any means. And if you have any tips or resources for like manifestation and not a weird way, let me know. But basically trying to visualize the life that I want to live. what kind of house am I looking for? What kind of house do I see our family in for this next stage, for these next, 5 to 7 years? What do I see us as a family living in? What kind of life do we have? What kind of lifestyle do we have? What kind of house do we have? And what kind of income am I bringing in? How does our bank account look? How easy is it for us to pay our mortgage? How does it look as landlords with this house that we have now? How do all of these parts go together and what do they look like? So I'm trying to basically visualize or manifest, whatever you want to call it, a much richer life and more income coming in on my side. So for me, that looks like thinking about what type of income goal I want to hit, what type of income I have coming in, and kind of visualizing myself as that person that has the money coming in, isn't worried about it, and knows that her business is going well, is providing, and is successful and sustainable. So those are the kind of two woo-woo manifestation visualization things I'm thinking about. Basically the house that we're going to buy and the income that I am going to have when I'm living there to sustain that lifestyle. And that's kind of new for me. I don't really do a lot of that. I'm definitely more of the practical, do this step-by-step type person. But I think that to get to this next level and to go where I want to be, I have to start thinking of myself and doing those types of things to start actually visualizing what I want out of life, instead of just kind of being like, oh, it'll happen, we might buy a house in, a few years, or maybe not. If I'm not really clear on what I want it to look like, I don't think it'll happen. So I'm trying to change how I operate and be very clear. I want this kind of house in this neighborhood that looks like this, and I'm bringing home this amount of money, and be very clear about it and visualize it and see that lifestyle. And maybe that's what will happen. Hopefully. Is that how manifestation works? I think so. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. We aren't really doing a lot else on our path to actually up-leveling. We are basically just getting back to budgeting and also trying to manifest both the income and the house that we want. So that's kind of where we're at now. Let me know what you're working on in the comments, and then watch this video next.